Nearly all of our struggling kids have gone through some kind of a terrible childhood trauma that damaged them emotionally. Even though the traumatic event may have ended many years ago, the person may still be damaged today. Since the trauma is not currently ongoing, this means that they are currently suffering now from something from the past. That's why it's called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is a current illness, even though the traumatic events ended long ago. As we learn more about PTSD, you will discover how many symptoms your struggling child may have, and then you will realize that this is the real illness that your dear child is suffering from. As we go through this, please raise your hand if you feel that this explains your struggling child or student for the teachers. I call this the 10 Makas plagues of PTSD. Feeling unsafe, not being able to trust anyone or anything, deep anxiety and worry, feeling insecure and different than everyone else, being numb to feelings of emotional feelings and spiritual connection, a deep sense of loneliness, constant regret, deep inner shame and disconnect from Hashem, broken self-esteem and self-loathing, hopelessness and helplessness. In order for any child to mature into becoming a healthy adult, they must go through their life with a subconscious internal feeling of, I am safe. As they're 4, 5, 8, 10, 12, everything that happens, they just internally need to feel, I'm safe. If you always think like at any moment that you're going to be shot at, and you're always going around with that fear that I'm not safe, you cannot mature properly. When something traumatic happens to a child, this basic core feeling of being safe can become damaged, and they may find themselves constantly having an uneasy feeling brewing inside of them. This can cause them to become clingy, sad, fearful, and restless. They can't describe what it is inside of them that's bothering them, but it's because the fundamental problem that they have is they don't feel safe. They don't feel that they can trust that everything is okay and everything will be okay, and then they begin to have a deep sense of worry. A lot of our kids, they have worry, like they're 100 years old and the whole world is on top of them. Growing up, I'm talking about. They have this worry. Once in this state, they can find themselves dealing with a myriad of unwanted, negative, depressing, and frightening thoughts and emotions that can leave them feeling like they are constantly struggling to maintain control, hold on, stay safe, stay sane, and try just to be like everyone else, just be normal. While a child's normal life is meant to be very simple, a traumatized child's life is extremely complicated, as their mind becomes flooded with unwanted thoughts and emotions, constantly challenging the basic stability of life, such as, am I safe? Am I a normal person? Is this life a safe place for me? Do my parents understand what I'm going through? Am I like everyone else? Can I trust anyone? These thoughts and feelings can overwhelm your child's young brain. Let me describe to you what they might feel like if they could express themselves. And just think about it if this applies to you. This is what they would say. I can't describe what I'm feeling. It's just so weird. Am I weird? I don't think so, but how come I feel so different? Everyone else seems to be enjoying life. Why can't I? As normal home life and school life swirls around me, I feel lost. I feel like an outsider. I feel like an alien put into the room. I look like everyone else, but I'm not like them. How come no one notices how I feel and what I'm going through? Am I invisible? Or maybe I just don't matter to them. Everyone around me seems to not even notice all of my deep issues. I have no one to share them with because I can't even put them into words. Even when I try to express that something is bothering me and I'm not feeling well, they don't believe me. They think I'm just a complainer. They think I'm a hypochondriac. They think I'm a manipulator. just trying to get out of going to school, going to whatever I'm supposed to go to. They think I'm lazy. Am I? I guess that's what I must be. Am I making all of this stuff up? Am I crazy? I thought my stomach really hurts, but nobody believes me. I told them I can't fall asleep, but their advice is just try harder. And then they say, well, of course you can't fall asleep if you keep coming out of bed all the time. And when I cry to Hashem to please help me fall asleep, and I still can't, I come out of my room and they tell me, you're fighting it. You don't want to really fall asleep. I already said Shema 3 extra times, but Hashem still doesn't allow me to fall asleep. Why doesn't Hashem listen to my prayers? Does He care about me? I guess He doesn't, because I'm so bad. I really don't feel well, but since I have no fever and no broken bones that can show up on an x-ray, no one understands me, believes me, or is able to help me. I may get a half-hearted hug or a shrug or even criticism like, why can't you just do what you're supposed to do? Why do you always need to be different? What's your problem now? Can't you just do what you're supposed to do? But regardless of the reaction that I get, I'm just sent right back to bed, back to class, back to camp, back to recess, back to davening, back to wherever I was supposed to be if I was a normal, healthy kid and nothing was wrong with me. But I don't feel like a normal, healthy kid, and something is definitely wrong with me. This makes me feel even more worried, hopeless, and like I'm very different than everyone else around me. I feel like there's just something deeply wrong with me. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. I'm always worried. I feel numb somewhere deep inside of me, yet I don't have the words to explain it to anyone, which leaves me feeling so incredibly lonely. I may be in a room full of people, or in yeshiva or in camp with hundreds of kids, yet I constantly find myself feeling all alone in this world. I feel like I'm trying to survive this thing called life, which everyone else seems to think is not only easy, but even enjoyable, and yet my deep sense of sadness and hopelessness makes my every breath feel labored. Can you relate to that? This is the way our kids feel. Even though he's trying so hard to keep himself going and to keep it together, he may lash out or say or do something to cause hurt and distress to others. Other times he'll act out and do something that goes against his own core belief system, his own midos, his gitzkeit, his goodness, or his own religious beliefs. And of course, he does not mean to do it and is immediately filled with regret afterwards. Yet he can't seem to control himself, and his life becomes full of deep regret as he constantly fails. He will find himself thinking over and over what he could have done differently, what he should have done differently, which leads to a state of hopelessness and misery. He will worry and fret about things and imagine all sorts of things going wrong, and even when things are finally going right, he may find himself worrying about them just in case. What if? And then there is the deep sense of shame. Victims of childhood trauma feel deep shame. They may be plagued by this for many years without even identifying it as shame. They may feel shame because they blame themselves for the abuse, like they think, he wouldn't have punished me if I would have behaved better, it's my fault. Or because they feel such humiliation at having been abused. I feel like such a wimp for not defending myself. While those who were sexually abused tend to suffer the most shame, those who suffered from physical, verbal, or emotional abuse blame themselves as well. In the case of child sexual abuse, no matter how many times they hear the words, "It's not your fault," the chances are high that he still blames himself in some way for being submissive, for not telling someone, for allowing the abuse to continue, for enticing the abuser with behavior or dress, or because perhaps he even felt some physical pleasure or enjoyed the attention of the abusive act. And shame can lead to self-hate, and an abusive relationship with himself can start to become a reality. He may find himself becoming estranged from others as he finds ways to numb his brain and become disconnected from life. The more he does those things, which he knows is wrong, the deeper his shame is, and that triggers the hopelessness, the helplessness. It's like a vicious cycle. This is followed by guilt. for constantly doing bad things. And when he realizes the path of self-destruction he's on and the consequences and impact of his own actions, and yet still does not stop acting out, he's left with guilt. He actually may believe that he really can stop. And since he's not stopping, he must be truly bad and evil. So they convince themselves that they have the ability to stop, because isn't that what we all learn? Shem doesn't give you any nisayon that you can't overcome. So I'm just lazy. I'm just bad because I could overcome it. Even though the Stipler said that that's not true. The Stipler said, and Rabbi Yisrael Reisman said in a speech, that we're ruining our kids by telling them this, because even the Reb Tzaddik and other Sfarim say sometimes a person is thrown into an assignment that he cannot overcome because Hashem wants him to go down into the depths of whatever, for whatever reason. How could we think that you can face any nisayon? None of us are today like the Gadol Adar. What's stopping you? You can't. Someone gets hit by a truck, by a car, and he's in a wheelchair, you're going to tell him, any challenge you have, you can overcome. Start walking. There are emotional breakdowns. A person who's depressed is a chayla nefesh. A person who has emotional breakdowns, who's abused, who is traumatized, cannot function normally. And it's a crime and cruel that we don't raise our kids to understand that, because we think that they're going to abuse us and manipulate it and use it as an excuse. And meanwhile, our kids who are hurting so bad. And they think, I really could do better. So why do I keep on acting out this way? Must be I'm bad. Must be I'm evil. And they use this against themselves. And then with the deep sense that he is bad, he may feel that he doesn't deserve anything. He doesn't deserve pleasure. He doesn't deserve fun, not trust, not friendship, not enjoyment, not life, and certainly not your love. He thinks, oh, if you knew the real me, you would hate me. Then he will come to believe that he certainly doesn't deserve to receive love and mercy from Hashem. After all, he believes that he is truly an evil sinner. He has no self-control, he has terrible midos, and he's constantly sinning against Hashem. This path may lead him to conclude that he doesn't believe in God and that life has no meaning. Also, very sad to understand that our kids who went through child abuse, any kind of abuse that was traumatic and ongoing, they daven to Hashem. They kiss the mezuzah. They say, Hashem, please help me that this person should stop hurting me, or that I should remember. A lot of kids study, and they don't do well on tests, and they daven to Hashem. Kids have learning disabilities that nobody even knows about, and they keep on davening to Hashem, help me, I should learn, help me, help me, help me. They daven more than Va'eschanon. Many kids daven more than Va'eschanon that Moshe Rabbeinu davened. Some of them daven for years, and then it comes to a point where they feel, nobody's listening to me. And Hashem sent me to be abused. Hashem sent me to be molested. Hashem did this. And then we constantly tell them everything is from Hashem, which is true. And they can't process this. Why should I serve a God that sent someone to ruin my life when I was a little innocent kid? How many tefillos that they have? It's very hard for us to understand this and to hear this. But if you are listening to their pain, they cry out. And they say, why didn't he listen to me? What did I ask for? Was hab ich gewollt? I daven to Hashem to help me daven better, to help me learn better, to protect me. I wanted to be an Er L'Chiyid, and Hashem didn't answer me. And I know this is a fact, speaking to hundreds of these kids. They davened. It didn't just one day they wake up, I'm an atheist. They come to a conclusion there cannot be a God, because if there is, then I can't understand how he could hurt me so bad. And that causes them to feel so alone in this world, because if there's no God, then life has no meaning, there's no afterlife, there's no purpose. Where are we going? What's it all for? What is the purpose of all of this? Sadness and depression slowly creep up on him till he just doesn't have the energy to care about anything or anyone anymore. Life just stinks, and he feels powerless to do anything about it. He just can't shake off a feeling of doom and gloom, no matter how he tries. A deep sadness fills him. He may be hit badly with insomnia and nightmares. Our traumatized kids do not sleep well. We learned that here over and over again when parents ended up somehow on vacation or something being in the same room as their kids, and they're listening to their kids sleep. What is the one thing that all teenagers and young adults have in common? They sleep. Anybody remember life in yeshiva? A bagel, cream cheese, right? 12 hours, no, not a problem. Friday night sleep. Teenagers shouldn't be able to sleep. Our kids krechts like old men and women in pain. Ay, ay. This is a fact. This is a reality. They cry out in pain a whole night. If you could put a monitor in your kid's room and don't get caught, you'll hear it. Our kids don't sleep. So of course they're scared to go to sleep. We look forward to go to sleep. Sleeping is zis. They are scared because at night the demons come out. The thoughts, the nightmares. A kid told me that his neighbors constantly knocking on his door in the middle of the night. Are you okay? Are you okay? Because they hear him shrieking. He's reliving terrible traumatic events. Terrible. His life was ruined. And he comes out, so of course he tries to stay up as long as he can. And then, because they stay up as long as they can, they finally plots, because then you fall into a deep sleep, at least for a few hours. And in their sleep, their krechts. And then concentration problems develop from poor sleep quality. His mind working overtime all the time. Our kids don't suffer from being dumb. They're thinking all the time, constantly thinking. How many kids said, I need something to stop my brain? Something needs to stop. My brain doesn't stop working, right? Triggers of the trauma. They become easily distracted. They become unable to focus properly. They're zoning out of life. They have distractibility and high anxiety levels. Memory problems can exist to the point where everything is just one big fog. We had a 15-year-old girl who grew up frum till a few months before she was frum. She asked her father, what comes first, Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur? They don't remember? How could you not remember? It's like a big fog. Because if you have migraines for 10 years and you go to school and you can't get rid of those migraines, you're not going to remember anything. Everything is just a big fog. You remember a little bit that you need to pass your test, and you're not feeling, you're not living. This is what PTSD does to our kids.